Okay, part 2. Didn't the keepers try to stop him? Them? They were asleep, Fidelito said. Tauntaun said they wouldn't wake up no matter how much noise we made. Matt had a bad feeling about this, but he was too startled by what Tauntaun was doing now to ask more questions. The boy had clamped down the jaws of the shrimp harvester to a single wire in the fence. He backed up slowly, pulling the wire with horrible grinding, screeching noise until, snap, the wire parted. Tauntaun attacked another wire, and another. The more he broke, the easier it was to unthread the fence, and soon he'd created a hole big enough to drive through. Matt watched the top of the fence anxiously. The one wire they had to worry about was still up there, snapping and humming in the breeze. As long as Tauntaun didn't disturb its insulation, they would be safe. "How do you feel?" Matt asked Chacho. "I don't know," said the boy in a faint voice. "I'm not sure what's wrong. I tried to reach you last night, but the bones came down so hard I could barely breathe. It was like being squeezed under a rock." He paused, seeming too weak to go on. "Does your chest hurt?" said Matt. Now he understood why Chacho had never answered him. "A bit, but I don't think I broke anything, just I can't seem to get enough air." "Don't talk," Matt said. "We'll take you to a doctor as soon as we get to San Luis." He was deeply worried, but he didn't understand what was wrong either. Tauntaun drove through the opening he'd created and helped Matt carry Chacho to the tank. The next part of the trip was much better. A road paralleled the fence, and the shrimp harvester was able to move much faster. Now and then, Tauntaun stopped to stretch his legs and let Fidelito run off some of his energy. "If you, jump up and down on my seat one more time, I'm going to, beat the stuffing out of you," he growled. The little boy quieted down for a minute or two. All of them drank strawberry sodas. Tauntaun had a crate of them in the cab. He took a break for lunch, producing wonderful food, the likes of which Chacho and Fidelito had never seen. They ate pepperoni sausages and cheese, bottled olives and cream crackers. And if the food made them thirsty, it didn't matter because they had more strawberry soda than they could drink. They finished with chocolates wrapped in gold paper. "I'm so happy I could fly," Fidelito said with a contented sigh. Matt worried about the slow, leisurely trip they were taking. "Aren't you afraid the keepers will dig their way out?" he asked Tauntaun. "I told him about the salt bags," said Fidelito. They're asleep," said the older boy. "Not after all this time," Matt said. "Unless, oh, Tauntaun, you didn't give them laudanum." "They earned it," he said, in the same dogged way he'd defended them in their infirmary. "How much?" "Enough," said Tauntaun. Matt could see he wasn't going to supply any more information. "It was wonderful," Fidelito piped up. "Tauntaun told us we were going to rescue you, only we had to wait for sunrise." "The harvester works on solar energy," said Tauntaun, so Flacco checked to be sure the keepers were really asleep. He and the others carried off their food, and they piled as many bags of salt around the building as they could find. Flacco said he'd wait for the supply hovercraft to fly him to the keeper's headquarters, said Tauntaun. "Yes, and I'll tell them what Jorge did." Yes, and tell them what Jorge did. Flacco trusts headquarters. "I don't," said Tauntaun. "Me neither," murmured Chacho. He was propped up against the side of the harvester with a bottle of soda. He seemed barely awake. "Maybe we should hurry," Matt said, looking at Chacho. Yes, Tauntaun agreed. And so the shrimp harvester ground on until it reached the corner where the fence turned right. The road continued north toward a low range of hills. To the left lay the remnants of the Gulf of California, but presently it vanished and was replaced with drifting sand. Whiffs of foul-smelling air drifted over the harvester. It was the same smell Matt had met in the wastelands near the Egypt pens. Only here it was sharper and more alarming. The sun was low in the west. Actually, take a minute to think about why it's a sharper smell here. It's probably because this is upriver from where the pit in the Egypt pens was. So all of the gunk originates here or in San Luis, wherever it comes from, but it's stronger here because it hasn't flown all the way down the river yet to collect in that pool. So it smells sharper and more alarming. The sun was low in the west. Shadows began to lengthen across the desert. The shrimp harvester slowly climbed the road through the hills. But when it came to a pass where the road was entirely in shadow, it stopped. "That's it," said Tauntaun, jumping from the cab. "That's as far as it'll go until dawn." Matt helped him lift Chacho from the tank. They laid him next to the road, wrapped in blankets Tauntaun had brought. He and Matt walked to the end of the pass and hunkered down, watching the sun slide into a violet haze. "How much farther is San Luis?" asked Matt. 3 miles, maybe 4, said Tauntaun. "We have to cross the Colorado River. I don't think Chacho can wait until morning." Tauntaun continued to gaze at the disappearing sun. It was hard to tell what was going through his mind. I followed my parents into dreamland over there." He pointed at the haze. "Jorge saved me from the dogs. I thought he was wonderful, but he only thought I was stupid." Tauntaun put his head down. Matt guessed he was crying and didn't want to embarrass him by noticing. "Something like that happened to me," Matt said at last. "It did?" said Tauntaun. "Someone I cared about more than anyone else in the world tried to kill me." "Wow," said Tauntaun, "that's really bad." They said nothing for a while. Matt could hear Fidelito telling Chacho how much fun it was to camp out under the stars, and how he used to do it with his abuelita after the hurricane blew away their house. "I guess you and Fidelito had better walk to San Luis," said Tauntaun. "If you can find a better doctor, bring him here. If you haven't returned by dawn, I'll go on." Tauntaun gave Matt and Fidelito flashlights. He supplied them with blankets to ward off the cold and lemons to survive the smell. "The Colorado River's bad," he said. "It goes into a pipe before it gets to the road, but it's still dangerous. Stay away from it, Fidelito," he warned. "Pay attention or I'll beat the stuffing out of me," the little boy said cheerfully. "I mean it this time," said Tauntaun. So it looks like their escape plan has finally come into action, even though a couple of things happened that they didn't expect. One, they got thrown into the bone pit, the boneyard. That was not planned. And then Tauntaun and Fidelito came to rescue them. That was also not planned. But it does seem like Tauntaun is following a similar plan to that which Matt would have noticed. See, the laudanum is making the keepers extra sleepy, so they're not going to wake up for a while. And that gives them a big head start. But now, Matt's concerned because he's thinking, well, they're probably awake by now, and they're probably not happy about 4 boys missing from the plankton plantation, so they're definitely going to come looking for him soon enough. Matt was asking Tauntaun how much laudanum he gave them, because he's afraid that Tauntaun might have accidentally, or on purpose, killed the keepers by giving them laudanum, just like Felicia killed Furball. So, we are going to find out how this goes for them next time in chapter 35, El Dia de los Muertos. And actually that translates to the Day of the Dead in English. So that's foreboding. It doesn't sound like it's going to go very well for them. But we'll find out tomorrow.